I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Greenhouse. Today I'm in Ogden. I'm with Michael and Cheryl Ackley, and we are at their beautiful desert garden. Michael, tell us, first of all, 1 acre. Tell us why you have this passion to put together a garden with 1 acre.
Well, I have a lot of projects in my head that I need to work on. And so we've been here 7 years. We decided we need to make this yard look presentable to our friends and family and neighbors. And we started working with the desert garden first. We put the pergola up about 6 years ago, and then Cheryl and I started all the desert plants, which we purchased from Valley Nursery in Uinta, and they came in little pots. And as you can see in the pictures, they are more than a pot-sized desert garden plants. So we've got a lot of variety, and so people come out and they like to take pictures and enjoy the flowers when they're in bloom. And it's just taken off from here, and I'm into railroads and history, so we decided to build a western town, an Indian village on our property, and then we also decided to buy a railroad caboose and put that on our property for like a guest house. So it just goes on and on, day after day. It's always projects.
So Cheryl, tell me, how much time do you spend out here in the garden every day?
Oh, I don't spend too much time. I do try to get out here every other day and weed, which is quite a challenge because the weeds grow really tight amongst the cactus, so I get a lot of thorns. I have a lot of battle scars, but I love it. The bigger they get, the more there is to weed. But I don't water them. I just let them be. If we have many, many 100-degree days in a row, I might give them a little sprinkle, but otherwise I leave them alone. But I'm not out here that much. I have ideas for the projects and things, and I'll help a little. But Michael's 24/7, and he's a visionary, and he'll come up with an idea, and I'll think, I don't know, how much is it going to cost? And then before you know it, it's done, and everything he touches turns to gold. Started with just a shed there and a shed over here that was left on our property that was used for horses. And we thought, well, we have to do something with this. So I said, well, let's build a Gunsmoke. Well, I just meant it would just have maybe a front and we put some stuff in it. I didn't think it was going to go this crazy. Well, it's not crazy, but this wild. I had no idea. And it's fun. We come out here, we sit in our caboose, we sleep in our caboose, we sleep in our tent and our teepee, and we sit and enjoy the garden. And it's just been really fun. We keep adding plants. And I don't trim anything. If it dies, it stays. It's part of the garden.
So Michael, 24/7, why is this your passion?
Well, I've always love working outside with my hands and creating projects. And like Cheryl said, I'm a visionary. I can see it before it's done. So I just get started on it. And as long as she can write out the checks, we're good to go.
Yeah.
And I can see a lot more things being developed as time goes on. So I can't tell you exactly what they are going to be, but it'll change here in another few months. It'll be different.
So how many plants have you planted? Any idea? Did you keep track?
I didn't. I've never counted them. I remember when I lived with my mom in Portland, Oregon, we had a small little, some hens and chickens, just a small little plant. And when she died, I took that plant and I took it with us and we moved to Montana, and it kept growing and kept having babies, and now we're here and it's all off of one plant. I've never bought any hens and chickens. I break them off. I have pots where I let them grow and they get big, and I pick them up, dig them out, bury them out here. So believe it or not, one plant has gotten all these hens and chickens. So this little guy here is just starting to bloom. He has green flowers, which is really interesting, and you can see he's just ready to explode. This one has been blooming for quite a while, so he's just about done. But my prickly pear will bloom 2 and 3 times during the summer. I don't have anything that blooms only once. They all are multiple bloomers. He's ready to go, full of blooms. I don't recall the color on this one. And all the hens and chickens are all shooting up their bloom. I guess it's a bloom. Get real tall, and then they have a little flower at the top. Well, they're quite easy. They grow so, I mean, there's just nothing that you have to do for them. I just, I just put them in the ground and I leave them alone. I will, if it gets really hot, I will give them a little drink of water. They need a little more water than my cactus. But they shoot up these, I guess they're bloom. You can see them coming up, and then it'll get to be a stick, and there'll be a flower thing at the top. And then that will produce more, and more, I guess those would be the chicks. And then I just take them and I plop them in the ground, and away they go. Now, I broke it apart before I got here. I broke it apart in Montana, and I had several plants. So when we came here, I had a little tray of several different plants. Oh, I'd say maybe 10. So I planted them here and there. And then as they grow and they get too big, like the one that's growing under the cactus now, or the cactus is growing over the hens and chickens, we'll dig that out and then we'll plant it somewhere and then let it go. But I'll take little ones, like I'll take this one, like this one or this one. I'll take them and I'll put them in a pot and let them get big, because they get in a big cluster. And then I'll bring them and I'll plant them somewhere in the garden. This area here where the log is, that's just been recently planted. And I'll leave a bigger clump like that, or I will take and put them in individually, and then they'll grow and they'll come together. So they're fun. They're fun because they're easy. I just stick them in the sand. It's very sandy soil, and away they go.
So do you do all the planting and Michael does all the building, or is it a combination?
Pretty much. He does all the building, I'd say. I helped him with the cabin. I helped do the inside and the outside of the cabin. But otherwise, he pretty much does the building. It's hard on, it's hard work. And I do the planting, but if it's something large or heavy that I've just bought, he'll help me. He'll dig the holes. But after that, I maintain it. We have a couple coming over here, the bright red and the pink. I love that pink. And this one was really big. Somebody gave it to us. And when we came to plant it, it fell and it broke apart. And I said, well, just plant it. It'll come up. So it did.
Tell me a little bit about cactus for a minute. Is it just a one bloom thing, or does it bloom continuously? What happens with the cactus?
A lot of them are a one bloom. I am fortunate. I have ones that bloom 2 and 3 times during the summer. My prickly pear will bloom 2 and 3 times during the summer. I don't know that that's the norm. I thought the norm was once a summer. But I'm just fortunate with them. And you can see my neighbor's growing bees. So you can see them all over there. They just love it.
Bees are loving these
love
blooms.
And I have 3 bird baths, and right now they're bee baths.
Right.
And we fill them several times a day. I can see the cactus is going to take over that space. Luckily, I can move these. They're simple to move. They don't have thorns. There's no way I'm moving the cactus. Now this guy, this summer, or this spring, when I put him in, I had the little alligator right in here. I had him actually in here, and now this is grown. This grown so that, the little alligator, I had to move him out. That's kind of how I can tell how quickly they're growing, is I'll put some kind of a yard art by them, and then say, oh yeah, boy, I got to move that. And by fall, I will have had to move all of my yard art to get it out of the way. I believe this is wild aster. I could be wrong, but somebody told me it was aster, and I leave it. Not only is it hard to get out, but I leave it. I like the look of it. This guy here, he's a real devil. Look at the size of those thorns. I don't want to go anywhere near that one. This whole area here was covered in these grasses. But I weeded out a whole bunch of them, and I just left these few, just for a different look. They just look good. We just wanted a variety. We didn't really know what they all did. We just knew they wouldn't need a lot of water. Tempting to come out and water them once a week or more often. And I would advise not to do that. Hold up and let them be. They're used to being dry. And there are cactus that can't survive our winters.
So what is your thought process when you're putting this together? How did you start exactly, and then how did you expand?
Well, we knew it was going to be a desert garden from the get-go after we made the pathways and the flagstone was put down, and with the soil the way it is out here. So we went down to Valley Nursery and started buying some little pots of prickly pear and different desert-type plants, and we just started putting them here and there, and it just took off from there. Then we learned a little bit more about them, which ones had the flowers, which ones had the don't flower, and it all started growing together, and we went out and bought some more plants yesterday and put some more in the ground.
It was never really planned.
It just,
like a blueprint, like a nursery would do. We just kind of just put them here and there, and like Michael said, and they were so small, little pots like this of a prickly pear. We thought, well, we just put that here, just put that here. Now we have to go through and dig out some of the hens and chickens and plant them somewhere else, because the prickly pear is covering it up. It's taking over. It's just growing and growing. It's supposed to be slow growing. These are not slow growing. They go nuts. They're just getting bigger and bigger. So we've had to rearrange things. We don't touch the cactus. We're not going to dig that up. But anything around it that does not have thorns, like the hens and chickens, that will go in, and we've dug out one already. We have another one right here we need to dig out and put it somewhere else, because the cactus just take over. And it's just it just started off with a couple prickly pear,
yeah,
and a couple of
sage,
yucca, and a sage,
yeah,
which died.
yeah.
So it's safe to say that this is an ongoing process. It's not a one and done for you.
Exactly.
Not really.
It'll be a workable project till we can't do it anymore, which is a real pleasure.
Cabin, Pioneer Cabin, that was just
It's just a little
woodshed. Yeah. Yeah, and I said to Michael, we need a Pioneer Cabin. So he and a friend built extended it, built it up, built a roof. And it has furniture in it, it has a dummy in it, it's all fixed up. And a friend of ours in Montana who had a bed and breakfast in a caboose. That toilet was in their caboose. He says, do you want it? Sure. So we got it, we just put it in the cabin. Yeah, this was fun to build. We really had fun doing this. It was hard work, but it was fun. And this was nothing but a woodshed. Like I said, he built the bed, just made a rustic bed. And we put Fred in here. He's not very hospitable, but he likes it in here. And we go to antique stores, antique shows, and pick up a few things.
So why did you decide, or when did you decide you were going to make an entire village out of your garden?
I love history. I love American history. I love history of Utah and the Native Americans, the Shoshone that were here in different tribes.
The railroad.
And the railroad. My dad was a railroader, and I just love trains, and we take train trips all the time in Europe and the United States, and I just have all this passion for all this railroad memorabilia. And we have the room. I said, well, let's see about getting in a caboose, which is a challenge in itself, just getting it here. So from there, it just kind of mushroomed, and people donate a lot of things to the museum, because it really is a real active museum. and we're always adding things to it, and it's just every day it's something new. Somebody will call and say, we've got this railroad switch stand or whatever railroad memorabilia, if you'd like it for your museum, they donate it. So we never dreamed it'd be like this, but we're sure happy it's working out the way it is.
In the one building, we had boxes of memorabilia, railroad memorabilia and cycling memorabilia. And I said to Michael, we either need to get this displayed somehow or get rid of it. I'm not going to have a bunch of boxes in my storage area that sit there year after year after year. And so all of that got put in there, and then it's just evolved.
This structure just had a dirt floor, had these metal walls in the roof, and I put visqueen on the dirt, but leveled it out, put pallets down over the visqueen, and then I leveled them all, and then I took plywood and put it on top of the pallets, screwed those all down, and found this flooring, put this flooring down instead of pouring concrete. It was all free. And this is all the memorabilia, railroad stuff that I've collected since I was probably 10 years old. And like Cheryl said, it's in boxes, we gotta do something with it. So here it is, and now we get to enjoy it and share it with the public. And a lot of railroad people just love to come over here and see all this stuff because they used to work for the railroad whatever years. And it's just so much history in here, so I want to share it with everybody. Because that's what built the country, the railroads, the Transcontinental Railroad. That was May 10, 1869. And my true passions are cycling, bicycling, and railroads. Okay, I said to Cheryl, do you think we can buy a railroad caboose? She says, well, where are you going to find one, and what's the logistics of getting it here? I said, well, I'll do the research, which I did. So I went on the internet to start looking at places that sell railroad equipment. There was a place called Rail Merchants out of Iowa, and they had this railroad caboose on a guy's property for 15 years, and he was going to turn it into a guest house or a bed and breakfast, which it never happened. So Cheryl and I and a friend took Amtrak out to Omaha from Salt Lake, rented a car, went and saw this caboose on the guy's property, and it was really, the weather was terrible, it was cold, but we walked through it, and it was in really good shape. It was all original. It never got vandalized or graffitied or windows broken out. And we looked at it, and I said, you got a buyer, so we bought it right then. And then we had a crane company out of Sioux City that came down and met us and saw where it was parked, where he could get his crane back into his property and lift it up and set it on 2 semi-trucks. One was a regular semi that we put they call these trucks under the caboose. We put those on that one truck, and the track came with it. And the other truck is called Extended Vision, Extended Lowboy. And that has to get really low to the ground because the cupola is so high to clear the underpasses. So we did a lot of measuring and cutting the pipes underneath to get it as low as we could, which we did. And then the truck company is right here in the neighborhood. They had 2 trucks. They went out there and picked it up and brought it back and set it in place. And then we have this road in the back, which is a blessing because there's no way you could ever get access from the front road. So he was able to drive around with the crane and the trucks and line it all up and pick it up. And it was, oh my gosh, it was, 50 feet in the air with the crane, and dropped it in place. And we had a lot of volunteers helping make sure it was all good to go. And there she is. I mean, it's just a lot of nervous days thinking about it. Okay, so this is a Sioux Railroad caboose built in the 70s. It was on the Sioux Railroad in the Midwest, and we used to go from Minneapolis to South Dakota down to Chicago. And they retired it in the late 60s, and this gentleman out of Bronson, Iowa bought the caboose for a guest house, put it on this property, which it never happened. That's when we heard about it. So then, of course, we had a hall going out here, and then we started restoring everything. It was a mess, and there's pictures here on the wall of what it looked like when we bought it. It was the labor of love. And I had an idea how, once I got into it, started taking seats out and grinding this and cutting this, and And I had to get the plumber here, the electrician here, the flooring people, and I did all the painting and did all the decorating. My wife Cheryl did all the pictures, and it just kind of just kept looking better and better every day. So we've rented it out a few times. We've had friends stay in it, and it's got complete septic tank, it's got electrical, it's got a mini split for air and heat system, and it's a
microwave.
It's got all the amenities of a little house.
Coffee maker.
You don't love this, do you?
No. So I just come out every day and try to find something I could change or improve on or add something to it. It's just so much like being a kid in a candy store. So much fun. These little cards were in the conductor's desk, and they were the conductor that operated the train back in the 79 and 74. That was some of his paperwork, because the caboose has a brakeman and a conductor in the and it's an office is what the caboose is, an office for the crew, and they make sure the train is safe because they can see the whole train. That's what the caboose is for. And so I found those, and I did some more research, and that picture there is the original picture when it was in service. And so when we painted it, we wanted to paint it the original colors, even though it's not from, it didn't work in this area. It's, Union Pacific is here. So we figured, let's keep it original. So that was a good thing to do. It'd be nice to find who actually worked in the caboose. They might still be alive.
Yeah.
And but they did an article in this magazine about a few months ago about the caboose. This is a society back in Minneapolis.
They kind of followed it, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so they got a nice article in there about it.
I love all of the retro.
Oh yeah. And it's got to be red. If it's in here, it's got to be red. So we got a red microwave, a red fridge.
Here is called a cupola, and that's where the brakeman and the conductor would sit up there, and that's why it's called a wide vision. And it sticks out farther than the width of the car, and they can see as the freight train goes around curves, if there's issues with hot boxes or some of the equipment they're hauling, lumber or whatever might be loose, they can radio the engineer to make adjustments accordingly. But it was a dangerous place to work back here, because in a caboose you have a lot of slack action in the couplers, and so when they start out pulling a 100-car freight train, it's like a whip. And by the time you get back here, it just throws you. So that's why they have all these grab irons to hang on to. A lot of people got injured, and sometimes they were killed. So that's why they discontinued cabooses in the late 80s, because of liability reasons. And so this is part of the history, which they started cabooses back in the early 1800s when they were building the Transcontinental Railroad. And so they had wooden cabooses, which were even more dangerous. They catch on fire. They had little wood-burning stoves in them. They didn't have all the technology then. But so they came to this, and this was retired in '73. And it was well taken care of all those years. And here it's called a monkey bar. That's where the conductor of the brakeman would hang on with, going down the track at 60 miles an hour. And it's just, the thing is just like this. And we call it Sweet Sue.
Yeah.
S-U-I-T-E.
I like it.
It didn't have a shower at the time, but it did have a bathroom. And then, of course, that's all been redone up to modern standards. We try to keep all the lettering and all the letters everywhere. We try to keep that all like it was. We took pictures before we redid everything. And the colors, of course, weren't like this. It was just an ugly dark green color, but we just kind of added all the railroad things and just just ongoing projects. And
So where do you go from here? Obviously you want others to see
yeah.
what you've created here.
Well, I think just maintaining what we have right at the moment, and I'm sure some more ideas will come to fruition. And I'll just get out the hammer and the saws and start building. I just keep like this covered bridge right here.
Oh, that's 2 days.
That was put that up in 2 days, and just an idea I had.
Yeah.
And so it's just things just evolve. I can't think of the things that are coming up next, but I'm sure I'll think of something.
Well, we do have the event coming up on the 27th of August.
Yes.
Weaver County Historical Society is a co-sponsor. They're going to make the flyers, the posters. They're going to post it on social media. And that's going to include a lot of the public. And we have a couple bands. We have the Utah Old Time Fiddlers and Blue Sage. And we're going to have classic cars here. And Michael just loves to invite people and share what he's done and share all of this. So I would have, and then we're always open if somebody calls and says, hey, can I come out and see it? Yeah, no problem.
I hope you've enjoyed this video. Join Ton and me for the KSL Greenhouse Saturday mornings from 8 to 11.